Now I'll talk a little bit about the murder of Robert Kennedy. Now, Robert Kennedy was murdered in the Ambassador Hotel by a Manchurian candidate named Sirhan Sirhan. Now here's the thing. Then again, we got to go back to New York City and the old dynasties, the lords and patrons of the Hudson River Valley. Where we're going to go, it's going to go back to Alexander Hamilton again. It's going to go back to the Army McCarthy hearings. You see, the Republicans, and during that time with Joe McCarthy, what the Republicans were doing, including Richard Nixon, they were defending the gangsters. They were gangster friendly. Why? Because the gangsters were the muscle that the Rockefellers were using as their front line against organized labor. Basically, they were using these gangsters to break the back of unions. And there was tremendous violence perpetrated against union members, union leaders, and union rank and file. Well, it's well documented in countless history books. Bobby Kennedy, in his book, The Enemy Within, he talked about Albert Anastasia. Actually, that book was published in 1960. Actually, Albert Anastasia was assassinated in 1957, which was it was right around the corner. It was, maybe 3 blocks away from the Time Life building in Rockefeller Center. See, it was believed that the Rockefellers were using gangsters to police the construction site when they were building Rockefeller Center. One particular notorious gangster was a man named Joe Adonis. He was walking the construction sites when they put up 30 Rockefeller and other buildings. Time Life was built in 57, right? Same year Albert Anastasia was murdered. They were all part of a group called Murder Incorporated, which were running out of the Waldorf Astoria. Well, then again, you're going back to the Astors, the Vanderbilts, the elites that owned hotels and properties and office buildings in New York City. But here's the thing, going back to the Army McCarthy hearing, one of the lead players in the Army McCarthy hearings was a man named Robert Tenbrook Stevens. See, Tenbrook, his ancestor, General Abraham Tenbrook, commanded 9 Rockefeller family members. He was the battlefield commander at the victorious Battle of Saratoga for the American troops. And there was 9 Rockefeller family members who participated in the battle. But that's not so intricate to why the Rockefellers killed the Kennedys. Although they are truly sons of the American Revolution. And in the back of their minds, that would in the back of their minds be a motive. But the motive was the Rockefellers were using these gangsters. They had set up a whole army, including, most notably, these private detective agencies, like the Felts, like the Dodge, Ball and Felts detective agencies. They murdered 200 people in Colorado under the orders of Rockefeller. And there was the Ludlow episode where the Rockefellers opened up with their machine gun fire, and the Rockefellers had turned themselves into terrorists. This is, if you strikers, you want to keep calm and keep fighting us, we're going to kill your family. The Rockefellers turned themselves into terrorists, and they opened up the amount of machine guns and armored cars. They opened up on 10 cities, killing babies and mothers. These are not nice people, folks. Don't ever think they're nice people. Don't ever call them philanthropists. They're nothing but that. They are not philanthropists. They give nothing away. They steal. They're plunderers and murderers. They parade themselves as philanthropists. Well, getting back to the Army McCarthy hearing, this lead character in the story was a man named Abraham Tenbrook Stevens. All right? He was what? He was Secretary of the Army. Okay? Well, they were investigating, I think this goes back to the Kefauver Committee, but Bobby talked about it in his book. They were investigating the manufacturing of uniforms and gangster involvement in the manufacturing uniforms, and mentioning the name Albert Anastasia. Then again, whose partner in crime was Joe Adonis, who was the labor force for the building of Rockefeller Center. So if anybody starts talking about asking for more money or going on strike or work stoppages, they get dealt with. Nobody's going to stand up to these guys. These guys were famously violent. They would murder someone and they would announce it to the world what they did, because they were never going to be held accountable. Because why? Because they were employed by the elite Protestants to defend the unions, and also other services. But we could get into that some other time.